So we're going to begin a brief discussion on aggregate demand and aggregate supply. If you'll recall from your micro class, if you previously took micro before macro, you'll remember that if you had when we looked at demand and supply, we looked for a particular good or service. So when we looked at demand and supply in micro, we dealt with only one particular good. Now, it's important to remember when you're looking at aggregate demand and aggregate supply for the macro level that we're looking at aggregate demand. All right, now that word's real important. There's a reason I'm kind of making sure you get that there is that when we say aggregate, what we're meaning is all the final goods and services that are in an economy. All right, so when we thinking about this economy, we're thinking about shoes or the meat we buy or the government bridges that are built. There's a multitude of things that go into this aggregate output. This aggregate output, these total amounts of goods and services that are produced in an economy for a particular year are represented by something known as GDP. Now, when you hear the terminology real GDP, what this means is it's been adjusted for inflation. And we'll talk more later on in the semester about inflation, but briefly it just means that we've got this basket of goods that we're looking at over a number of period of years, and we're seeing if the price levels on average are going up or not for all of these goods. So when we're measuring aggregate demand, we're looking at different price levels and the quantity of output demanded. This is also known as real GDP. Alright, so when I'm looking at price levels, we take a particular base year. Currently what's used in the data is that we look at 2000. And we say, okay, we've got this government agency that looks at a particular basket of goods. It may be milk in there and bread, and maybe at the time it might have been CDs, although most of us don't buy those anymore, or shoes and t-shirts. So it's just a bundle of stuff that the average consumer might consume. And we're going to compare that to last year. So what notoriously happens is we usually see a little bit of inflation that happens, meaning that these prices will rise over time. So you'll see that in 2010 it could have been that the price index would be a 150. Let's erase that and see if that's a little bit clearer. Alright. So the felt tip is now deciding it wants to work. 150 there. Maybe that's a little bit better. Now what does that mean? It means that it's increased by about 50% from 2000 to 2010. So I've got a bundle of goods. I've got my milk, my bread, my clothes, my t-shirts, and other things that a typical family may buy. And I've seen that this has gone up by about 50% since 2000. So we adjust this for these price changes. This is what this real GDP is saying. When you're looking at the sum of demand, so we're saying the sum of demand of an economic decision maker, on the macro level what you're looking at is you're looking at the household. These are consumers. This is you and I. This is how much money, how much goods and services that we consume. And if you'll recall, the household is going to be pretty significant because consumption makes up about 2/3 of real GDP. Now the firms, these are businesses. Okay, so this is my Walmart, my Target, my Chick-fil-A, maybe Shelby Cafe, lots of different firms in here. Government, so what does government provide for us? Schools, we've got bridges that we have, and then other foreigners. So what we're going to see is that we'll have more demand because on the average prices will be cheaper and GDP will go up at a lower price level. So more aggregate demand as that price level drops. So the relationship is going to look something like this. So we could say that my base year is this 100. So how has it changed? Has the price levels increased by 150% or declined by 50%? So how is this relationship occurring? Now on the supply side, what we're looking at is we're looking at firms. Alright, we're looking at government. We're looking at a lot of different items here. So what is firms providing us? They provide us with lots of things. Walmart provides us with shoes, with t-shirts, with jeans. They provide us with cosmetics. They provide us with even groceries. So this is the supply of all these final goods and services that are being produced. Okay? So if I'm a seller and I produce TVs, then this is going towards real GDP, and this is the supply side of the equation. They come to equilibrium where the two meet. In 2000 we saw that the GDP was about $11 trillion. This equilibrium is where the price level is met, and this is basically this points along the PFF that we talked